The Shorts video is brought to you by Vaishali, a geopolitical intelligence analyst on behalf of MitKat Advisory, and it explains the latest political turmoil in Nepal. I will start by talking about the background which led to current political crisis, why Nepal is facing the crisis again, what is the reaction of people in Nepal, how is the turmoil hurting Nepal's COVID-19 fight. Then I will talk about how a political crisis in Nepal impacts the current constitutional crisis and political instability in Nepal are as a result of Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's surprise decision to dissolve the parliament, in which his ruling Nepal Communist Party, also known as NCP, enjoyed a two-third majority. Announcements were made regarding the elections to be held in April and May 2021. In a statement after the decision, Prime Minister Oli indicated that the reason behind the move was due to his current position within his party and his lack of decision-making power due to political infighting and lack of coordination among the party members. The NCP is the ruling party in Nepal that came to power with two-third majority votes in parliament in November 2017 elections. The two prominent left-wing parties in the country, UML led by KP Sharma Oli and MC led by Pushpa Dahal, joined hands to fight the 2017 elections and eventually unified on 17 May 2018 to form the NCP. Non-adherence to the terms of the agreement and lack of coordination between Prime Minister Oli and Dahal has been the main cause of political instability in the country. Nepal's Supreme Court ruled that the Prime Minister with the majority in Parliament did not have the authority to dissolve it, marking Prime Minister Oli's move to dissolve the Parliament as unconstitutional. Also, the ruling NCP, which was the ruling political party in Nepal, was also scrapped by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court stated that the allocation of NCP was void as it was already allotted to another person, thereby scrapping the merger altogether. Eventually, Pushpa Dahal and Madhav Nepal, who actually belonged to Oli's faction of NCP, sided with each other in order to oppose Prime Minister Oli's several moves that were deemed unconstitutional and against the spirit of democracy. Why is Nepal facing a crisis again? The latest chapter of turmoil in Nepal began when Nepalese President Bidya Devi Bhandari dissolved parliament for the second time since December and schedules snap elections more than a year ahead of schedule. This decision came after the caretaker government run by Prime Minister Oli failed to get the requisite numbers. She rejected the bids of both Prime Minister Oli and opposition alliances claimed to form a government. Prime Minister Oli lost the vote of confidence and President Bhandari gave the opposition less than a week's time to form government, which they were unsuccessful in. The deadline to form a government was set for 21st May to form the government, to which Oli and Sher Bahadur Debya, the leader of opposition, both claimed to have the support of majority MPs. Both these lists did not add up to the total number of members, that is 275, with the names overlapping and several MPs denying their support to either leaders. Nepalese reaction. The call for a fresh election appears to have angered many in Nepal. Members of civil society staged a protest against Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli's move to dissolve the parliament and the government's failure to control the COVID-19 pandemic. The demonstrations with banners and placards with slogans such as vaccine, ventilators and oxygen are needed, not ballot papers. Should people be worrying about their own lives or the elections were held? Public frustration is evident in the country with the no vaccine, no vote hashtag that has been trending across social media. Pro-monarchy protesters began demonstrating and organizing rallies in order to overthrow the Prime Minister Oli government and restore the monarchy in Nepal. How is turmoil hurting Nepal's COVID-19 fight? Healthcare workers express concern that the turmoil could further hamper Nepal's battle against the pandemic. In recent weeks, the country of 30 million people has been registering more than 8,000 cases per day, with nearly half of all the tests coming back positive. The surge has overwhelmed Nepal's healthcare system, which was already struggling with shortages of staff and equipment prior to the pandemic. How does the political crisis in Nepal impact India? The political stability of Nepal impacts its two immediate neighbors, India and China. Nepal's geostrategic location, sandwiched between India and China, creates a tug of war between India and China over Nepal, as India's role in the mediation of earlier political crises in Nepal has led to development of anti-India sentiment in Nepal. India has chosen not to meddle into Nepal's internal matter this time. However, India is apprehensive that the political instability in Nepal will expand space for China to intervene in Nepali politics and shape a government that is favorable to China. India appears to have moved carefully and cautiously while responding earlier to anti India actions and utterances by Prime Minister Oli, and now to the situation of political instability in Nepal. India did react through a very strongly worded statement when Nepal released a new political map in May 2020, which included some of the Indian territories, for example, Kalapani, Limpudhara, and Lipulek within its own borders. However, India took no such measures as could be viewed as punitive in nature. India's traditionally dominant influence in Nepal has been challenged by China's ascendancy in recent years. Due to fears of Tibetans potentially using Nepal's soil to conduct anti China activities, China considers Nepal important to its national security strategy. Beijing has traditionally maintained a non interventionist approach to foreign policy. However, this approach is gradually changing, as is evident from Chinese ambassador to Nepal's proactive efforts to address current crisis within the NCP. Nepal's media speculates that China is in favor of keeping the NCP intact, as the ideological affinity between the NCP and Communist Party of China could help China exert its political and economic influence over Nepal. Future analysis for current political instability. Parliament is likely to remain battleground for political parties. The current political deadlock in Nepal is likely to remain. The political crisis is unlikely to end until and unless parties manage their internal disputes. The internal rift that led to parliamentary dissolution and the political dimensions of the current situation, along with the domestic and geopolitical implications of internal political instability, may lead to a serious and long-term weakening of Nepal's democratic fabric. The poor handling of pandemic and rising public dissent seems like a recipe for disaster in Nepal waiting to unfold in next few months. That's all for now. For more detailed analysis on geopolitical issues across the world, read our reports that are posted on LinkedIn regularly and subscribe to MitKat Predictive Risk Intelligence Services. Thank you.